Okay, hello everyone. We are live. Thank you all for joining. I am Gustavo from Placker. Um, Very nice to see many familiar faces and names here in the audience. Some of you are new to Placker, so yeah, I'm responsible for customer success and helping customers to get the most out of Placker. And I'm very happy that you all joined today to learn more about the Gantt chart, which is one of the most used features of Placker. We've heard many cases of people that were using Trello, that were adding dates to cards and using the basic tools, but eventually they wanted to get more information and view things in a timeline, and that's when they found Placker. So if that's your case, there are many customers like this, and well, welcome, and let's start our webinar. It will be a great opportunity to um, clarify all the questions you may have, and also demonstrate a bit of how the Gantt chart works so that we are all on the same page. Okay? Can you confirm in the chat if you can hear me well, if everything is good with the recording? Please send a message here in the chat saying if you can hear me well. Okay, great. Thanks for confirming. By the way, we also have a poll here at the right side. So if you click polls, we are asking what kind of projects you work with: technology, marketing, engineering, educational, personal, others. So it would be great for us to know more about your use case, because yeah, we want to learn more about our customers and adapt the Gantt chart so that it gets the most value for you. Okay, well, feel free to send your question anytime in the chat, and I will be happy to clarify everything. But until then, let me quickly show you how the Gantt chart works, um, because we have some people here that are new to this concept. So, well, basically, when you have a board, this is an example board in Trello, and we have some dates here. So we have this card, develop product number 1, and it starts on December 1st, finishes on January 31st. Well, the board view from Trello is great to have a big picture of your work and see what is in each column, but it's not very practical to know if we have tasks happening today, if we have a lot of simultaneous tasks, what is the order in which we need to do the tasks. So it's more of a task view than exactly a schedule. So if you install the PowerUp, so I have the Projects by Placker PowerUp installed here, um, this adds a button called Gantt. And when you click Gantt, then you will see that view in your board. Well, you can either use the PowerUp buttons, but what is even better is if you open placker.com, sign in with your Trello account, and then you will see in the full page, you will see a list of the boards, and then you can open your Gantt charts there. I think that's much better, because if you use the power up to open, then it uses just a small portion of the screen, and that's not ideal, especially when you need a large timeline. There's not a lot of space here, so yeah, I recommend going to placker.com and opening your Gantt charts there. Just notice that everything will be in full sync. So if you change something, if I change the date, let me change this project plan date to start in April, for example, it automatically changes the project plan date. So here it also starts in April. So don't worry if you change things in the Gantt chart, if you move the bars, it will be updated. So okay, so what exactly is the Gantt charts, or the bar chart, also known? So basically, you have a list of all your cards here at the left column, everything you have in the Kanban view, the board view of Trello, but instead of having multiple lists, you have one list, and it has the hierarchy, so it has the same topics: to do, doing, done, and the tasks and the checklist items, but they're all here at the left. This gives you more space, so you can add other columns like the status, like the complete percentage, the duration of each card. So you can add columns. um, there is no right or wrong columns that you should have. It's what makes most sense for you. If you are using durations, that's great. If you have the habit of keeping the percentage complete of the cards updated, then it's really nice to have it here as a column, so you can have a quick view of this. If not, like if I don't usually add the percentage, I just tell if it's completed or not, then it doesn't make much sense to have this. You can customize your columns. You can click filter and settings, Gantt chart attribute columns. I will disable the progress. I will disable the effort because I'm not using it right now. I will enable plan start date, plan end date. So yeah, you can customize it the way it works best for you. And always remember to save changes if you want this to be applied the next time you open the Gantt chart. Okay. Um, in case I'm doing everything too fast, just let me know, or you can also watch the recording later if you want to see again something that I did here. But okay, so you have the list of cards, you have the columns, and especially you have the timeline where you have each month. This is a long-term project. That's why I have the zoom year by month. So I have a quick an overview. And then I have each bar representing when cards start and complete. They could be tasks, they could be activities. So for example, I can see that the project plan starts here at the April column, and it finishes here in May. Okay, so that's um, essentially what the Gantt chart is. And as you can see, the only thing you really need for the Gantt chart is your cards and your dates. Okay, so if you have cards and dates, you will already see the timeline. But there are other elements that make it so helpful for you, and when you're planning, when you're managing your team and the dates and making sure that everything is up to date in the Gantt chart. For example, the dependencies that show you a logical sequence in which the cards are going to be completed. You also have um, you can see the critical path of the board, which is something I'm going to show you later. So there are many other tools here that you can use. You can customize it by color, for example. So yeah, lots of things to talk about today. Okay, let's start with the dependencies. How the dependencies work. Basically, this creates a predecessor relationship between the cards. So for example, if you need to finish something before you start the next task. For example, I need to finish the development of product 1 and product 2 before I start the validation. If we didn't have this dependency, then what could happen is that I plan to do the validation before. So I couldn't do the validation before the product was completed. And then if I don't plan this in advance, if I just realize that I need to finish the product just so I can do the validation later, if I only find this later, then I would probably have a mistake in understanding the project end date. Because if I don't realize this, then I'm expecting to finish this project here. What is the date? July 25th. So I expect to end this project on let me remove this task. Yeah, April 30. So that's when I finish validation. But since I have this dependency, then what is actually the correct end date for this project that I should plan for is the end of May, right? May 31st. That's the correct date. If you don't know this in advance, it could lead to mistakes in the estimation. So uh, very important to add the dependencies and make sure that everything is respected. Okay. And how do you create a dependency? Well, you can let me remove those. You can hover the mouse over one of the bars. There will be a circle at the right and at the left. So if it's a finish to start dependency, you can click the finish of the first task, of the predecessor task, and then you click and drag into the next one. And you can have even two dependencies. So validation depends on those two tasks. Okay. Um, Also, another nice thing that you can visualize in your Gantt chart is to compare the plan and the actual dates. So, for example, the project plan, this first card, we expected to start this on April 1st and finish on May 31st. But not always things happen according to the plan, and sometimes this changes. So if you want to know exactly when you started and when you finished this task, then you can also add those actual dates, right? So this is a card that has the status completed. So whenever you have a completed card, you can have the actual date. So in this case, I actually started this on May 10th, so I started it later, and I finished this on June 15th. So there was a delay, so I didn't do this exactly when I planned. You can see this either by clicking and watch and checking this in the panel at the right, or if you want to visualize this in the timeline, that's also possible. You can click check plan and then show actual dates. This will show you like both the blue bar, which is the plan date, and a yellow bar behind, which is the actual dates. Okay, so yeah, this is very interesting, and this is only, by the way, for cards that have completed or started, right? Because, for example, if things are in the future, like develop product one, I don't know exactly when I'm going to finish this, so I can't tell when is the actual date until I actually work on this task, right? So you can either input those dates manually for completed cards, or there's also an option to add them to the cards as you are working on them. So for example, I will add a new card here in Trello. I could also add this in the Gantt chart. So I will click the plus sign next to the to-do list, new card. Okay, so here it is, new card. The status is open, right? It's in the to-do list. So I didn't start yet working on this card, but my plan was to do this in July. Well, the moment I start working on this card, I can change the status to started, and this will add like a timestamp, and it adds the actual start date exactly the moment that I change it to started. So you can also use Placker as a time tracker, so you know when you start and when you finish each task. Okay, so the status is started. I can say when I started working on this task, which is September 12th, 11:15 a.m. This is the time right now in Brazil. But if that's not when you actually started, for example, I changed it to started now, but I actually started working on this 2 hours ago. So I can click the time and I can change it to 9 p.m. So 9 p.m. is the correct actual start date and time. Okay, so notice that when I changed the status to started, the card has moved from to do to doing, okay? And that's because I have created the progress by list. So I have mapped each list to reflect a status. If you want to do this in your board, if your boards has lists like in progress, in review, completed, done, things like that, it's a good idea to open the board, then click the board title, board settings, and then there is an option progress tracking, and then I have mapped out each list. So to do every card that is in the to-do list is open, every card that is in the doing list is started, and completed is done. Okay, I have done this previously, which means that when I move a card from doing to done, like the new card, for example, this will automatically mark the card as completed, and it will also, as you can see, it is marked as completed, and this also marks the timestamp for the completed card. Okay, so if I go to new card, I can see that I started 9 a.m. and I finished 11:17. That's the actual end date. Okay, so that's nice if you want to be even more precise with your dates and you want to analyze not only when you plan to do things, but when they were actually when you actually executed the tasks. Okay. Well, I hope it's clear so far. There's a lot more to talk, but if you have anything, any question about this, feel free to send in the chat or in the Q&A section. Okay, let me show you some other interesting things here in the Gantt chart. And one of the most useful things for companies that work with multiple projects at the same time. So if you are like me and you're not working just in one thing, but you are rather working on multiple initiatives at the same time, you may have multiple boards. You may have different Trello boards for each project or for each department. And you can, in Placker, visualize them all in the same screen. And for this, you can click the scope bar here at the top, so at the center top here, and you can select which projects you would like to see. You can select as many projects as you like. And now I have not only Trello A, but I also have project 3, project 4, project 5, all those projects here in the same Gantt chart. So that's very useful, especially if the cards from one project may have an impact on cards of another project, so you can establish those dependencies as well. So this is the board group where you can see cards from multiple boards. You can also change the way, the hierarchy, the way that cards are structured. So for example, by default, Placker is going to show you the same structure as Trello, so to do, doing, done in my case. But you can see it by member, for example. If you're not exactly checking the status of the cards right now, you just want to see what you have to do, what is your plan, then you can set layout by member, and you can see your own cards. You can see the cards from your colleagues. You can check if they are over allocated, if they are working on multiple things at the same time, or what are the tasks assigned to each member. So Set layout will change the way that cards are grouped. If it's by list, if it's by member, if it's by label, if you're using labels, by status. So that's an interesting way also of a different lens that you can see. You can change the order. So, for example, yeah, one thing I like to do is to set them by start date. So I use the default layout, and I use the set order by start date. I also like the lists reversed in some cases. So yeah, it makes sense now that the cards that start first are on top and the others are below. So that's a nice way of keeping cards in a way that makes sense. So you have plenty of options here: layout, order, color. So if you want to have a different color based on the label, for example, this card has the yellow label, so it shows as yellow in the Gantt chart. This card has the green label. You can see the label here, so it shows as green. If you want to highlight something, then that's possible here. Change the zoom. So like I said, this is a long-term project, so I'm using zoom year by month. But if you are working on a short-term project, if you are tracking hours or if you're tracking days instead of months, then let me open this Trello B board because it has smaller tasks and then it makes more sense. Okay, so in this case, I have zoom by month. And instead of having the every month as one column, I have dates. So it starts on September 8th and it goes until September 22nd. So it's more of a closer look at the tasks. Okay, so set zoom is very important depending on how you're managing your cards. And after you have customized everything that you need, it's a great idea to share this with your team so you don't keep this information for yourself, but everybody is aware of the project, of the things that they need to do, and the schedule. So if you want to share a Gantt chart with your team, there are basically two options. One of them is to simply send them the link. So you can copy this link here, the URL of the browser. You can send it to someone in your team. And if this person has access to the Trello board, and if the person has a Placker account, then they will be able to open the Gantt chart in real time. And that's really nice because if something changes, like I have colleagues, for example, that live in Europe and I live in Brazil. And if I send it today, they might have ended their work shift right now. They will only see it tomorrow. And if something changes here, they will be able to see the changes when they open the Gantt chart tomorrow. So it's nice. It's a dynamic Gantt chart and not static. But you also have the option of exporting. So if you prefer to generate a file of this Gantt chart, you can click export and generate, for example, a PDF. And this PDF you can print or you can send it in an email, or yeah, you have the Gantt chart in this PDF picture. Okay. There's a question. Can a Gantt chart be converted into an image that can be presented in a PowerPoint? Yes, Maria. So you also have the option of, instead of PDF, you can export it as PNG, that is a picture, and you can add this picture in your PowerPoint presentation, which is really nice. Okay. And a comment about that. So if you are planning to put this in a presentation, it's nice to set a proper zoom. Like if it's a large project like the one I was using before, um, and I create a Gantt chart of one big project, maybe it gets too big to put in a PowerPoint presentation. So you might want to set a smaller zoom at first, so maybe year by quarter. Then it's smaller, it fits better for a presentation. You might also want to hide some cards that are not essential for your presentation. So maybe use the filter and hide. I don't want to see the completed cards. I just want to see the cards that are in the future because, well, the completed cards, I don't need to focus on them. So maybe that's better for a PowerPoint presentation than seeing the full Gantt chart. So yeah, before you export the Gantt chart, make sure that you have customized and that you have selected all the options that make sense. Okay, thank you for the question, and let me know if this is clear. And one more thing that I want to show you is the resource planner. So the resource planner is this area below where you can see the members. In this case, it's just myself as a member here in this board. And I can see how many hours I am working every day. So for each task that I'm assigned to, so for example, if you look at task 3, during the days that task 3 happens, I'm working 8 hours a day. That's the default assignment from Placker. You can change this if you like, but by default it's 8 hours a day. But on September 8th, I'm working 16 hours a day, and that is because I am assigned to two tasks at the same time. I'm assigned to task 1 and task 2. Okay, this is probably not ideal, right? Because I might not handle two cards at the same time, or this could lead to delays. This could lead to working out of office hours. So if you want to solve this, first of all, it's very nice that you visualize this in the resource planner as red. Then you know that there are probably simultaneous tasks at the same time. And you can solve this by, well, there's a lot of options here. So you can assign it to someone else. Like instead of me, actually, who's going to work on this is Sam. Then I'm not over allocated anymore. Or if it has to be me, I could reschedule this. I could do this only after task 1. So I could add a predecessor here. Or I could work less hours a day. You can click the card and change FTE. There's an option that says FTE, which is 1. I have 1 resource full time. I could work half time this card and half time in the other card. And this will probably, I will take longer to finish the card because I'm working only 4 hours a day and not 8. But at least this solves the over allocation. So also an option. Okay. Anyway, the resource planner is very good if you are being if you're adding many details and you're being very specific about the hours worked, and if you're really micromanaging your team, it can be something useful. So you can spot those working hours. If not, if you're not really working, if you're not really adding the hours and you're not really worry about this, then you can also disable. So everything in the Gantt view is customizable. You could go to filtering settings, resource plan, and disable the resource plan. Then it's not visible anymore and you have more space for the timeline. Okay, yeah. And well, there's a lot of details here on the resource planner. If you put the mouse over the number, it will show you exactly what are the tasks that you are working on that day. So that's interesting. But that's just an overview of the resource planner. Okay. Well, we are actually almost getting to the end of our webinar. So I'm going to show you a few more interesting things that you can do to improve your how your Gantt looks like. If you have any questions, that's the best time to send them in the chat, so I can talk more about something that you're using the most and make sure that everything is responded. But to talk about some other visual elements here, you can, if you click filter and settings, there will be a lot of options. Some that I like the most. Well, I like the critical path. So if you click show critical path, some cards will be shown as red, and those red cards are the ones. Let me hide the columns. Those red tasks are the ones that impact the project end date. So the project is ending on October 4th, and if I delay any of those red bars, it will cause a delay on the whole project. So task 3, it's ending on October 4th. If this delays and it finishes on October 5th, obviously this makes the whole project end October 5th. It's a delay. Task 2, it's also critical. So if I delay this for 1 week, the whole project delays for 1 week. But I have one task that is not critical, which is task 1. And this is because I have to finish task 1 and task 2 before I start working on task 3. This means that if I change task 1, if I delay it 1 week, it's okay because I still have to finish task 2 and it doesn't really impact. So it's not critical. I can delay it and I still have some slack here to delay this card without affecting the project end date. So it's very useful. Filter and settings, show critical path. This then you're going to see the critical cards in red. Okay, and there are plenty of other visual options here. I recommend that you explore and find out what are the most interesting things for you, and make sure that that it addresses how you are planning your projects. Okay, question from Nicola. Could you show how to connect Placker and Google Drive? Nicola, I'm not sure if maybe you refer to the Google Calendar integration. Placker provides a Google Calendar integration where everything that you change in your board reflects in the Google Calendar. We don't have a specific Google Drive integration. Hey, can you see me? Is it back? Okay, great. Okay, perfect. Well, I was showing the other tabs. So the board tab is similar to Trello, but you can load multiple boards and you can use the custom layouts. And the track view shows statistics in real time of your board, such as percentage of cards completed, how many cards are assigned to each member, how many cards are overdue. So it would take another whole webinar to talk about the track view and the board view. But yeah, just to give you a quick view here, that this is also possible. It's also included with your Placker account. And yeah, if you want to know more about anything specific about the Gantt chart, or if you want to know more about the track view or anything else, we have our help center. So if you go to help.placker.com, you will find many articles about all of the Placker features. And we also have the chat button. So there's a chat button at the lower right corner where you can talk to us and you can send us your questions. Um, and we will be happy to clarify anything. If you have any problem at any moment, if your Gantt chart is not working, you can also ask for help there. Okay. All right. Well, I don't think we have any other questions. In this case, I wanted to share with you that we are currently in the process of redesigning the Gantt charts. So we are going to improve the interface and the buttons and everything else. So if you have any comments or any feedback that you would like to share with us, if you're already using a Gantt chart for a while and you would like to propose something different, our team is currently gathering some feature requests. So please send your comments in the chat, or if you prefer to schedule a meeting with us to share your perception on the Gantt tool, this would be very helpful for our product team. Question: can labels be seen at the task name at the Gantt view? No, Ilan. Unfortunately, you cannot add the labels to the task name. You can only add this as a color. So if you have labels, then you can change the color of the bar to be the same color as the label. Okay. Well, so if anybody wants to ask anything else, you can always use the Gantt chart anytime. We will be happy to help. Our next webinar will probably be next month. We are probably going to do one about the track view. So I hope to also see you there. I hope you have learned something about the Gantt chart and that it's helpful for you to manage your projects, make sure you're completing your work and saving time. So thank you all again for joining, and I will see you the next time. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.